Does plot really matter that much in the battle genre? I've asked a similar question before when discussing how JJK was just fighting, but this time it's different. I create charts for how a story should be written, so it's easy for me to get trapped in my own echo chamber. That's why I asked AI for a more objective perspective. I have charts for writing characters, plot, and themes, which I believe to be major pillars in storytelling. Most people are in agreement on the components of what goes into a character, so I asked GPT what goes into a plot because I think it's less clear. I wanted to see what a more generalized view would look like. It looked very similar to my chart. Conflict, cause and effect, stakes, setup and payoff, story structure, and subplots were all on my chart. Things that weren't on my chart are goals, pacing, plot devices, and plot twists. I'll call this plot development. So I'm not living in a bubble of my own Umaskian philosophy. ChatGPT agrees with me. This leads me to a deeper version of my question. Can plot development be sacrificed in favor of character and theme development? Stay with me, Ubarians. Personally, if I were to measure how much the plot pillar contributed to my enjoyment of battle manga, it would be small in comparison to characters and themes. For example, setting is the fourth pillar, but I barely even mention it because its contribution is even smaller than the rest. What hits harder? Good conflict or a good character arc? Good story structure or a good backstory? Good subplots or a good test of values? So if plot doesn't matter as much as the characters and themes, would it not make sense to minimize the amount of plot in order to maximize the amount of character and theme? That would maximize enjoyment and minimize time. Battle manga can easily dump all of their character and theme development into fights, which would lead to story arcs that are little plot and mostly action. I thought about this when I reflected on a lot of battle manga. I need to preface that what I'm about to praise and criticize is not an accurate representation of my total opinion on each manga. I believe that writers should play to their strengths. If your best skill is writing a fight, which is the case for most battle genre writers, then write a bunch of fights. I noticed that Timeskip One Piece likes to spend a lot of time on subplots that don't interest me instead of putting in a lot of fights. I really paid attention to this when I looked at how fast Egghead was. Timeskip Naruto had the same problem, a whole bunch of plot while skimming through fights. Hunter x Hunter has the same problem, a bunch of wacky plots with a low amount of fights. FMA is in this group too. A recurring thought was these stories are holding themselves back by not including more fights. What does the opposite end of the spectrum look like? It looks like Kingdom, Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, Golden Wind, Frieza Saga, Chapter Black Saga. These stories throw out a very simple premise like, go save this person or go fight this person, and then it's back-to-back battles filled with intense, emotional moments, battles of ideals, and character arcs. Prime Golden Wind and the Frieza Saga are MacGuffin fetch quests with several fights in between. The Chapter Black Saga has the heroes hunting down the villain group and taking them down one by one. Some of these arcs have new goals introduced after a fight, which counts as plot development, but is very minor. The fights take center stage, and I can't lie, when these stories get to the action, the arc becomes S-class. My enjoyment is as high as, if not higher than, those other stories that include a bunch of plot, and it takes less effort and time. Some of these arcs don't even have themes, or character development in a lot of the fights, like Golden Wind, Chapter Black, and Frieza. I think the perfect ratio of plot to character and themes is most consistently used in Fairy Tail. The premises for why the characters are fighting are as creative as One Piece, but it doesn't go overboard with the subplots. It gives you just enough to care about the plot. The focus on action is almost as strong as JoJo or Demon Slayer, but it doesn't overdo it to the point where it feels like you're just watching a fight compilation. Other popular arcs find this balance, like Enies Lobby, Sasuke Recovery, and Soul Society. Once again, I must bring up the sports genre. This is exactly what they do. They set up a reason for the two teams to play each other, and then the rest of the story is just a match with a bunch of character development. If it works for sports, why can't it work for battle? If every reason for combat was a tournament, similar to World Trigger, that would be underwhelming and repetitive. I let it slide for sports because that's how it is in the real world. You play in a league or a tournament. I expect more from a battle fantasy, which is why I praise the creative premises of Fairy Tail arcs. I must stress that the character and theme development is more important than the fights. The fights are just a vehicle for the development to be expressed in an interesting and entertaining way. Strong character moments outside of fights also count in this maximized strategy. Writing like this would lose points in the plot category, but it would gain extra points in character and themes and overall entertainment. And if character and themes are weighted more than plot, wouldn't that be a worthwhile sacrifice? In conclusion, I actually don't have an answer for this video. It would take a lot more analysis to find out what is the perfect amount of plot to have before you jump into pure action. I still like plot. Death Note, Code Geass, and Attack on Titan are stories with fantastic plots, but I can't ignore the fact that in most battle manga, prioritizing action over plot results in a better experience. I'm not even speaking popularity wise, I'm talking about my own enjoyment. I'm done with the phase of praising battle manga for avoiding fights. If that's your best move, spam it. Imagine how effective a battle-heavy, plot-light arc would be if every single fight had a character arc and a theme. The closest thing to that is probably Fairy Tail's Phantom Lord arc. I think the books on how to write put an emphasis on plot because they're all about how to write movies, and movies need them. Movies and TV episodes have a minimum length requirement, so having multiple subplots and structure helps fill the empty space. But in a battle manga story arc, there is no minimum length for the arc. The anime adaptation also bends to fit the arc. The episode count of each season could change, the arc could span multiple seasons, or the show could be long running where the seasons are irrelevant. There is no empty space to fill. Keep learning, Librarians.